Welcome back to Inside Personal Growth. This is Greg Voisin, the host of Inside Personal Growth. And on the other side of the camera, or for those of you who are listening via audio only, I'm on with Kathy Sparrow. And Kathy and I have been friends for quite some time. And she is about ready to launch a course that I think everybody needs to learn about who's thinking about or has ever thought about writing a book. And we're going to be talking about that. Kathy is joining us from Los Angeles. Good day to you, Kathy.
Good morning or good day, yes.
Yeah,
for anybody who's listening later in the day.
Yeah. Well, Kathy and I have just finished working on a book. And for those of you listening on YouTube, or you can see it, it's called The Precipice of Life, Leadership and Personal Growth Insights from a Mountaineer's Edge by Bo Parfet, and a big contribution from Kathy and myself. So Kathy has been doing this with me for some time. Many of my listening audience know that I've been involved in helping people get books done. And if it hadn't been for the help of Kathy, probably wouldn't happen. So Kathy, I'm going to let the listeners know more about you. She calls herself a literary midwife. She's an award-winning author, ghostwriter, publisher, consultant who's been mentoring aspiring writers of nonfiction, fiction, and poetry for over 2 decades. Many have been penned best-selling books because of her book coaching services, known as Behind the Scenes Secret Weapon to thought leaders. Kathy specializes in areas of self-development, leadership, and people who are writing memoirs. Kathy has co-authored and project-led books such as Ignite Your Leadership, Proven Tools of Leaders to Energize Teams, Fuel Momentum and Accelerate Results. Her novel, The Whispered Teachings of the Grandmother Trout, is touted as the feminine version of A River Runs Through It. She's also the author of children's books such as Stanky and Cece, Break the Rules, 2022, and Stanky and Cece Out of Control, 2023. She is completing It's All in the Cast, A Fly Fisher's Guide to Presence, Power, and Performance, 2023. And she has ghostwritten books and blogs on topics of banking, personal growth, development, memoir, and leadership, including the book that I just held up for you who are watching on YouTube, The Precipice of Life, Leadership and Personal Growth Insights from a Mountaineer's Edge. Now, to find out more about Kathy, you can just go to kathysparrow.com. That's CATHYSPARROW.com or www.awritablelife.com. We'll put links in there as well. We're also going to put a link for all the listeners to the place where you can sign up for this course. If after our interview here, we've done anything to inspire you to want to actually sign up for the course, there'll be a special link in the blog. There'll also be a link for those of you watching on YouTube right underneath the YouTube channel so that you can sign up from there. So we are going to kick this off with Kathy this morning. And Kathy, I always talk to authors, they've written books. You and I aren't particularly talking about any one book at this point because you have been involved in the development of so many books. Where'd you come up with this literary midwife come from? Because I think that's interesting. You're giving birth, obviously, so you're giving birth to a book. So tell us more about that.
I actually, somebody said, oh, you're a literary midwife after I told them what I was doing. It was actually in a retreat center in Costa Rica, and we were just sitting around chatting, and one of the people there asked me what I did, and I said, well, I help people take the ideas of their books and bring them into the world. They said, oh, you're a literary midwife. So it stuck because it very much is a birth process. There's a conception, and then there's a development, and then we the birth is when we get to hold the book in our hands and show it off. So it's and there are times when it's really exciting, and there are times when there's a bit of a transition for anybody who's given birth. That gets a little dicey. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I have a question for you, because I was just re-listening to a podcast that I did not that long ago with a really interesting man, Michael Sandler. And Michael helps people as well, kind of like you. And he calls it AWE, automatic writing experience. And, you know, he says a book comes through you. And I
Mhm.
believe that as well. I believe that frequently it's not something, you know, people think about it, okay, write every morning for 2 hours. Well, what you're really trying to do is get yourself set up in the proper mindset and frame, and with meditation to be able to allow these words to come through you. Now, I know for some of my listeners that are listening, they're like, well, that's crazy, but you don't really force a book, do you? You really
No,
kind of have to, you have to get in this spiritual state. And I love what Michael talked about, because really that's what you help you when you guide people through birthing their book, just like birthing a baby, you really have to get in a new mindset, don't you?
yeah, I really believe that when we get that idea, it's really a tap on the shoulder from the universe that says, "Hey, I've got a mission for you." And we probably mull the idea around for a while, but really it's about surrender. And also, I believe we can tap into the consciousness of the project. So before I sit down to write or even work with my clients, I actually we take a moment to tap into the consciousness of that project and ask what wants to be brought through me as I guide my clients through the process. And sometimes I consciously do that, at the beginning of a session with a client. We sit and we meditate briefly, and then it's amazing to watch the magic, as they sometimes I do
What
sit.
kind of techniques do you have to help people? I know we're going to get into your program here, but this is the program, right? When I think about meditation or listening to music, when I was speaking with Michael, and you and I have talked about this, I know when I wrote my first book, I literally would put headphones on and put on very inviting music, but at the same time, I was in this meditative state. It wasn't me writing, and I know for a lot of the listeners out there, they go, "Oh, cool! I've written a book," and I realize that, right?
Mhm.
But I think for the people that want to write a book, they have to realize that much of this is about letting go, isn't it?
It is. It is. I think in a lot of ways, our heads get in the way, our mindset gets in the way. Like, who am I to write this book? And, what do I know? There's been books written on this subject, before. How can I add anything new? But if we can just trust that that idea has come to us and just surrender and just listen to what wants to come through, right? It's about listening and trusting that we're going to be given, most of the main ideas. I think too, there is some technical, practical skill that's brought in, but the biggest or the most important action is that act of surrender and trust.
Yeah, and regardless of the amount of research one of your clients may want to do, it's interesting how when the research part, whether it's through Google or you're going to go read another book or you're going to pull something from here, you're going to pull it from there, it's interesting that if you're in that space, you're given hits on all the research as well, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what I know to some of the people listening, it might sound funny, but you don't force the research either, right? It's kind of like, oh, you get a hit. And it's like, I should go over here and I should go over there and I should go here and I go
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah, that too. Or something comes across, your email inbox. It's like, wow, look at that, right? It
Yeah.
does happen. It's
Yeah.
I trust that. Sometimes we're given life experiences to go through as well that end up in the book in some way or shape or form. But it is
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really fundamentally a spiritual process. And I know, okay, let's not have that be off-putting to people. But the reality is writing a book is a spiritual process. And when you're done, you feel like you've birthed a part of you, right?
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
want to go run around and tell the world, look at, I finally got this thing done, right?
Yeah.
Um, so tell us more about write books that change the world, because, you know, many people out there listening are going to say, yeah, I've got a great idea. I want to get it out. I want to put it in a book. I do want to change the world. And while there's many, many, many books out there, how do you help people write a book that will actually change the world? Because there's probably not that many that have actually changed the world, meaning changed the world.
Change the world,
Yeah,
right? But we can change one little part of the world.
right.
If we've gone through some experiences and come out the other side and have wisdom that we can impart on others, I think that's the way we affect change. In my academic study, I I looked at how the power of story heals. So it's not only active healing as we're writing, but it's anybody who reads our journey and sees what we've gone through. And our journey doesn't have to be, the book doesn't have to be memoir to bring out the wisdom that we've experienced in our lives. They could be snippets, right, of and interwoven with some teaching. So I truly believe that if one person gets something out of a book that can impact their lives in a positive way, that has a ripple effect around everybody around them. So we are essentially changing the world one reader at a time.
I like how you put that, because frequently, me doing this podcast show, and I tell people, I probably got close to 1,200 books hanging around, because these books have accumulated, and they're
Yeah.
almost like I feel very connected to them. And
Mm-hmm.
many of them I've only taken one or two ideas from. But
Mm-hmm.
as you add to all those ideas that continue, it's your way to stay a continual learner
Mm-hmm.
about the world and the evolution of the world and where things are going and how you want to play a role in all that. I think that's important. Now, this program that we're talking about, Write Books That Change the World, it's a year-long program. Um, for some people, I hear people write books in 3 months. For other people, it takes 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard the gamut here. Why a year-long program?
From my experience, it takes about a year. Anybody who's really serious and wants to get a book done, it's about a year-long process, because it's not just the writing that we're going to look at. We're going to look at building the author platform, building visibility about the book and the author during that program, during that year. And also, I really want to teach people about good cover design and how to get on podcasts such as yours, and use that book as a business building tool. So I've got guest experts that are coming in as well. So in order to get it all in, we need a year. Plus it's about 9 months of the writing and then about 3 months of production. So we're going to look at cover design, interior design, go through that production process, learn the ins and outs of making sure everything's in its place, and building a launch, choosing that right time to launch the book that may coincide with another part of most people who are writing it to build their businesses and elevate themselves in some way, even, and I shouldn't say even, but if they want to go out speaking, this is one way to do it as well.
Well, look, your program differs from other programs, but I think, a lot of people today have chosen, just because of the length of time it takes to get a book completed, they're going to self-publish. Let's just talk about self-publishing or actually writing a treatment to actually pitch it to a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have ways where people can go both directions, or is this primarily for self-published people?
So we are part of the program is creating a book marketing plan that sells, because whether you're self-publishing or going traditional, you need a book marketing plan. And I would say that anybody who wants a traditional publishing, wants to go that route, needs at least 10,000 followers and a
Okay.
large mailing list. So that's a stumbling block. So actually this program is a way to start building that following, start getting more exposure, so that one day they might be able to get that traditional publishing.
Well, what are the options, Kathy, I think just fundamentally, many of my listeners out there have not written a book, but they're thinking about it. They maybe haven't had time to research it. You now have this course. There's self-publishing, there's going to a publisher. There's other kinds of presses as well. Can you tell them about the gamut of how they can actually get their book to market?
Sure. Yeah, so self-publishing, it's actually a faster track. You get to choose, you have more control over your product that way, through KDP, Ingram Spark, or BookBaby, and set up an account and upload the files, and it's easy as that. There are some costs. KDP is free to publish. Excuse me. And then there are fees with Ingram Spark or BookBaby, and that just depends on the size of the book and whatnot, and whether you're doing paperback, hardback, or ebook. And then
what if you go to an agent like Bill Gladstone? I mean, I know he's out there trying, and for many of my listeners, they might know Waterside Productions, they might not. They certainly know Simon and Schuster. They certainly know Wiley. They certainly have seen these names and imprints on books. What is that track like?
That track is a test of patience. So the first part, it takes a lot longer. Most of those publishing houses, you need an agent. So it's the first pitch is to an agent, and that takes writing a pitch letter. And if they're interested, then they'll ask for the proposal and then sample chapters. So takes longer. It could be, even after getting accepted, could be another 18 months before you get a contract, and then it's another 18 months to get the book published. So it's a lot.
So
longer.
Is your course designed to help people that may want to go that route, or is it primarily designed for people that are really considering self-publishing?
It's primarily designed for people who are considering self-publishing, and if someone comes along that has the large enough following and a saleable idea, I will definitely help them go in that direction. In fact, I had an email from an agent who I collaborate with looking for a certain type of genre. So I'm on the radar for things, and vice versa. So for possibilities.
Well, you and I go back to the days of Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, and they used to do a program around writing your book. And I remember I would go to those events and they would bring on all these experts. Now we're in a world today where you can do this all via Zoom and people can come in online and do that. But we actually ended up in Newport Beach and with a big binder, and all these people would, pitch their services and so on. Speak with us about these experts that'll be joining over the course of the year, or at least just some of them, that the people listening today would at least realize, hey, look, there's quite a bit of value here. I'm going to get Kathy, and I'm going to get all these other experts as well.
So first person that comes to mind is Lori Seymour of the Baca Institute. She's going to talk about that mindset that's necessary to surrender and be in flow for the creative process, which eventually also helps us with our abundance. Then there's Erin Whalen, who's actually Jack Canfield's copywriter. She's going to be sharing on how to create the story around the story as you're writing your book, so that we can start building that visibility during the writing process. There is Laura Ballerini, who's going to come in and talk about good cover design, and Alex Sanfilippo. I hope I got his name right. He's got a pod matching system. It's called Podmatch, and so it helps people find the right ways to, or the right places to pitch for podcasts. And he's going to talk about how to pitch podcasts and how to research the podcasts that you want to pitch. Jackie Lappin of Speakertunity, she has also another database that quite an extensive one to help people find speaking engagements.
So you've collaborated with all these people, and during the course of the year, the listeners
Yeah,
can expect to hear from these people through your course.
yeah,
Now, this course, is it on, I think it's on Kajabi. Is it pre-recorded? Is it live? What is the actual
it's live.
learning modality? So it's live. Okay.
It's live. We're going to meet Thursday afternoons from 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific. And then we're also going to have writing circles on Tuesday mornings. We're actually open up Zoom, and I hold space for people to write. So it's making a commitment to yourself to show up and write. But Thursdays are the teachings and some implementation and group work. What I like about having the group come together is that there's some synergy, there's peer feedback already built in. So it's not every Thursday. There are some breaks, but in the beginning we start off with the, 3 meetings just to kind of get the momentum building, and then we.
And this all starts in April, right?
Yeah,
Okay, what's the kickoff date for this?
April 20th.
So April 20th is the kickoff date. How many participants will you be accepting into the program? Because I think listeners out there might be going, well, I don't know. I don't just want to be with a ton of people. But so
Yeah.
how many are you limiting this to?
Limiting it to 16. We're going to have
16.
a very, yeah,
Okay.
small group. And there's
And
a
then the
lot.
next natural question that most people are going to ask is, what is their investment? In other words, they need to look at this as an investment. And I need to kind of preface this because, you know, if you went out and got a ghostwriter and you went out and found somebody to help you find people to interview because you wanted to put other sections in the book, it can be a costly experience. But this course is a bargain at an investment of what?
$15,997. And there's an early bird discount of $1,500 off by March 20th.
March 20th. Okay. And if you guys don't get that, even at 15,997, did you say? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You're virtually getting 1 year of somebody directing you and guiding you to get this book done. And I will tell you, your investment, if you did it another way, could be as much as 3 times that, depending on where you are in life. But that's not only good for this first book, but imagine if you choose to do a second or third book. All of the lessons learned are there. Now, are you recording this where people can come back again and again and again and pick back up on some of this? Is that part of the offer for the 15,000?
Yeah, everything's going to be recorded. And in addition to that, I'll be reading every word and guiding the people in their writing process. So they're getting a lot of high touch.
How much coaching time do they actually get with you personally? So if, they're in with a group, I get that, but are you providing them coaching time as well individually, or is this all meant to be kind of a group experience?
No, there's also 5 what I call deep dive sessions where I'm working with them for an hour and a half to talk about their process, to talk about next steps and overcome any challenges and make a really good plan. So
Okay.
we start at the beginning with a deep dive discovery. So I get to know them personally and what their project is about. And then during the process, we'll be looking at their marketing plan, really diving deep into that and making sure they're thinking about all the possibilities of people that can partner with them at launch time. And then we'll do the launch, and probably even, I think there's one there was one there too about in the design process. So lots of high touch time.
Well, I know you've been a literary midwife for quite some time, and obviously the way the world has evolved is allowing you to offer this at a much less of a price because you're now aggregating more and more people. Why did you kind of want to do this now? Why this way? And what can they expect in the end? In other words, if once they leave, so let's say April to April of 2024, they exit your course. What's the vision look like for them?
Well, they'll have a book in hand. I could just get on that one, but they're also going to have a lot of knowledge about what it takes to be a better writer. Most of my people that I've worked with said I became a much better writer. I found my voice. They're more confident in sharing their information. And they'll have the process. They'll know that, most of my clients are not one book wonders. There's another book in the wings, waiting in the wings. They know they've got to get this first one done because there's more. So they'll know what they're getting into for the second. And I really believe that it will shorten that process for them, because they'll have a good working knowledge of needing to be committed to the project, and knowing how to build the buzz as they're going along. So there's a lot of takeaways, a lot of personal growth.
Yeah, for somebody
in writing a book.
somebody who's out there and they're listening to us and they're going, wow, $16,000, that's a lot of money. Is it all due up front? Can it be made in payments? What are the ways that you're accepting the payment for this?
There's actually 3 different payment plans: a 3, 6, and actually a 12-month payment plan, because I do know it's an investment. And
so for those listening that are apprehensive, you can break this down into 12 payments. So it's a little more than $1,000 a month, but the reality is it's when you look at what you're getting every week, that's a great opportunity for you. And I think, us discussing this is real important, because it's about being transparent about what it really takes to get this done. Now, could you do this on your own? For everyone listening out there, possibly. But the reality is, if you ask any author who's probably authored a book, they'll say it's a team process. And so what Kathy has done is she's put together the team. You have access to this team. You have access to her. You have access to the fellow participants who are in the plan, where you can collaborate with as a community. So she's really taken write a book that changes the world, and given you an opportunity to collaborate with other people that are going through the same journey, as well as bringing these experts in to help you, and doing it at an extremely reasonable price. So what do you think makes you stand apart from other writing coaches? In other words, why Kathy Sparrow? Why write books that change the world course? Why do this online? Why wouldn't I just go hire you as my ghostwriter?
Well, first of all, what makes me stand apart is I come out of the traditional publishing world. I've been in publishing for 30 years. I started as a magazine journalist in upstate New York, and just graduated into the books, starting as a proofreader for IDG Books, the For Dummies people, and then ghostwriting and being on the production team for a number of different publishers. And to take it a step further, one, I do have a deep spiritual practice that helps me trust this process. And I did do an academic study in the power of story to heal. And I believe that that's why we were giving these messages to bring out, to make a big impact on the world. And why not hire me to ghostwrite? Well, it would be 3 times the amount for me to ghostwrite. And I'm open to that. And I also believe there's something about that ownership, of having that satisfaction of really seeing what you've created at the end of the year. And I just love teaching people and seeing that progress that they make as they're tending to their baby.
Well, and I think one of the things that is a prerequisite for anybody considering this right now that's listening and gets this message is I'd say you need to have a big dose of curiosity. You need to be curious about something. So whether you're going to write about, global peace, or you're going to write about, the environment, or you're going to write about personal growth, or it's going to be, I think you have to have the passion. You have to be curious. You have to have really strong purpose. And this needs to be a goal that you have created. And if you have created a goal for yourself to write a book, because I hear so many people say, I'm going to write a book kind of flippantly, right? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to write a book. And someday you're going to write a book. The question is, when is someday? And someday will never come if you keep talking about it that way. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to reach out to Kathy. It's Kathy at kathysparrow.com. That's one way. You can actually go to her websites. It's kathysparrow.com or awritable.life.com if you want to learn out more about her. And then in this blog, you're basically going to be able to be connected to write books that change the world, enroll, which there'll be a special link for that for you to enroll in this. And that's where you can learn more about this as well. Kathy, is there anything you want to say additionally about the course or what people can expect or how they can get enrolled that you want them to know about before we part?
Well, I just, this is an exciting time for me to offer this. I'm really, really eager to get started. Actually, it's like I'm going to bring all these people together and really make an impact on the world. This is my purpose, and this is my mission too. It's like I know that I've been charged, so to speak, with helping people get their books out, and nothing brings more joy to me than working with words and working with people wanting to make an impact and influence in the world. So, and just go to the link or email me if you have any questions.
And I would say in parting that there's probably no better way to do it.
Yeah.
If this podcast that you're listening to inspires you, even if you go out and do it on your own and you don't sign up for the course, more power to you. But if you want to take a journey with some very special people and actually be with them at the same time and write a book that changes the world, you're going to be inspired because you're going to go all the way from the ideation to the manifestation. You're going to actually implement this. And in the process, one of the things that Kathy's really good at doing is you have a tendency to say, okay, I'm going to do it. And then you could put the pen down, but you've got to manage your energy. And I say pen because it could be writing on your MacBook or whatever. But the point is, you get it. If you don't manage your energy through this process, you can actually end up with half-written books or quarter-written books or three-quarter written books because something detracts you and you can't see it to the end. And I think most importantly with any goal, it's about seeing it to the end. It's about the manifestation, the birth of, the midwifing of this book. And I think that's the point I really would like to get across, is that it is usually writing a book is not a solence process. It's there's people helping you. You get there. And it takes quite a little team to actually make this happen. It isn't just one person. So Kathy, thanks for being on Inside Personal Growth, sharing your wisdom about being a literary midwife and about your new course called Write Books That Change the World. For all of my listeners, check out the blog, check out Kathy's website, and we will go from there. Namaste to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.